right in the middle of Dan Patrick's segment. Our second-hour guest strolled up on set because that's what Ohio guys can do with another Ohio guy on the set. He is the author of Two Paths, America Divided or United, the governor of the great state of Ohio, John Kasich, right here in person on the Rich Eisen Show. Again, thank you for being here, Governor.
Rich, just one thing. You know, we were so proud in Columbus of our Blue Jackets. You know, this is the craziest way they do this hockey seeding. Nobody can figure out how they do it.
I don't understand.
So you have, I forget who was at the top, but then you had Pittsburgh and Columbus like right next to each other, and they ended up playing each other, while the fourth team ended up, I mean, why are they setting it that? Nobody can explain to me how it works. But anyway, Columbus was very aggressive. We were really proud of them. But then I just read the other day of Crosby getting another concussion. You know, that's Sidney Crosby. When you watch him, he is, you ought to ask Gretzky about it. The guy's amazing.
Well, he's back on the ice today at practice, so we're hoping that that's a good sign that he'll be back on the ice for the
How many concussions can you take?
Exactly.
Though, you know, but what a wizard he is. He gets behind that net, and it's just amazing what he can do.
How are you able to keep up with sports, with your job and with your gig?
Well, look, you know, I want to be involved, music, entertainment, sports, all this stuff. And I do my job and I focus on my job. And, you know, like on the way over here today, I'm on a long call with my staff talking about the health care bill, talking about other things. I'm in constant touch. But I can do, I've been able to do a lot of things at about the same time. And sometimes people in the old days used to think I was distracted, but I can kind of manage
You're
things.
a multitasker?
I am.
That's what you're saying? Okay.
So, and, you know, we have things I get really fired up about. I don't watch everything, but I sort of follow what's going on in sports.
So what fires you up? What's if there's one thing that happens in sports, if it's something in a specific...
Well, it's somebody that, you know, something that I feel a connection to, whether it's the Blue Jackets, whether it's the Cavs, whether it's the Indians, you know, which we're all excited about. And then I bemoan these little towns and I don't know. I follow a lot. I couldn't believe what Federer did this year. You know, Federer winning the Australian Open. I mean, what a remarkable thing.
Now, I noticed
the Olympics and all that. I took up swimming, by the way, after the Olympics because I wanted to look like those guys, and I'm not doing very
right. So
well,
you took up swimming yourself. So you're
yeah. And I was so bad. I heard that the people that were at the pool, because I'm a terrible swimmer, were laughing at me, and I've gotten better though, and so I'm swimming farther. But anyway, it's all good. I play golf. I love to play golf because it's a mind relaxer, except when you shank.
Okay.
And I'm trying to take that out of my game, and you know, I love playing golf with my buddies, and so you know, I'm pretty active. I'm you know, exercise, workout. When I'm working out, I don't like watch news. I watch sports.
Okay.
And in fact, when I'm on the road sports is where I go. A lot of times to the Golf Channel.
So that's sort of to the Golf Channel.
I watch it a lot. I've been on the Golf Channel.
So who was your favorite player? I mean, do you have one particular?
No, but I would say that, you know, everybody, of course, was thrilled to see Sergio win, which takes me back to the day of Seve Ballesteros, who was the master, as you know, the magician.
Indeed.
And they asked him one time, how is it that you four-putted that green? And he looked at him and he said, I make.
That's the four-putt right there.
That's the four-putt.
I've got John Kasich here in the Rich Eisen Show studio. I noticed one of the teams you did not mention, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, is that fine? I know you're from that area, but you represent the state of Ohio, where the Steelers are.
Look, I grew up there in Pittsburgh.
Right.
I just think they got to start thinking quarterback. Now, I don't want to have a big fight with Roethlisberger. I mean, he didn't even know who I am. But the fact is that I think they need to start thinking about what comes next because he's older and he's slower and he's more banged up. I was surprised they didn't do better. I felt they really could have gone all the way to the Super Bowl because the team was so strong. But then, you know, when their running back got hurt, and he was just remarkable. That whole stutter step business, I just have never seen anything like that. Maybe Marcus Allen ran like that.
Well, I mean, Le'Veon Bell, like we were talking about it during the playoffs last year, Governor, he basically, it's like he's body surfing until he finds that one spot, that one hole, and he hits it. Nobody else does it. Nobody else has that running style. And he's big, too. I mean, he's a large man for somebody who runs that fast and is that elusive. But, you know, with Big Ben... You know, he's an Ohio guy. I mean, he loves coming.
Miami.
He loves coming back and
from
beating
Findlay, Ohio.
The tar out of both Ohio teams. He kind of enjoys that.
Well, you know, it's funny. It used to always be the Browns and the Steelers, and now it's gotten so nasty with the Bengals.
Yes, it has.
You might remember, I think it was 2 years ago when they They were playing in Cincinnati, and it was a fluke win for Pittsburgh, but people were throwing bottles out on the field. I mean, it's gotten nasty.
When was the last time you went to a football game? When was the last football game you were able to attend?
Probably I went to a Ohio State game. I took one of my daughters. I like to go, but sometimes when I go, I have to work. So
sure.
It gets to be a little bit of a challenge. I missed the Michigan game this year because my family and I went to New York for the Macy's Day Parade, and we'd never been before, and we had great seats and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I had a chance to spend some time with Jim Gray, who's a terrific sports analyst. Mm-hmm. You know Jim. He's been around forever. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see that game, but I could not believe Michigan fumbled on the 1-yard line.
Is that what happened? Because my memory's a little fuzzy, Governor. Yeah. Is that really what happened?
It's going to be interesting to see what happens this year because, let me tell you something about Urban Meyer. This is the interesting thing.
Go for it.
What Urban Meyer does is he takes these kids and he connects them to the world. It's not just about playing football. I mean, when he goes to visit the families, he says to them, look, we're going to teach them how to be successful in life. We're going to get them connected with jobs. And it really sells with the moms and the dads. And at the same time, he takes people in to talk to the team. He's a really great guy. He went through a transformation, and I don't know that much about it, although I do know him and know him fairly well. He found his faith, which has calmed him down and put everything in perspective. And you remember the trouble he was having at Florida, but now at Ohio State, he's really doing very, very well. So, he's very happy.
So if you're talking about a coach who's connecting with faith and making sure his players are connected with the world, what's wrong with taking your team to Rome, Governor?
No, that's
wrong with
that's okay.
What's wrong with that?
Then you don't need to tell the world you're there. I mean, what is that about?
Well, I mean, you can't just
be quiet.
You can't just sneak in and visit the Pope.
No,
I mean, there's cameras around when he has him bless a Michigan helmet.
But here's
and
the thing. If we're seeing these guys bring about integrity and discipline and faith and all that, we need more of that in our society. And guys like Urban Meyer or Harbaugh, whoever, and their athletes who really are great stand-up people, they become an inspiration to the young people that follow them. I mean, you are somebody's role model when you are on the big stage. And so I think it's great that they're starting to put, at least with Urban Meyer, from the way I see it, he's putting values ahead of winning. And I think in Florida, it wasn't always that way. And he would tell you that. And now he says he's happier than he's ever been, and he's more successful than he's ever been.
Of that, there's no doubt. And he called into the show the week of the Michigan game, and I got to work with him at the NFL Network and got to meet him, and beyond impressive, obviously. That said, you are the perfect person, Governor, to ask this question on behalf of a lot of Michigan fans, okay? The Ohio State University, okay? It says the Ohio State.
Yeah.
Is there another Ohio State University that you're trying not to get all of us confused with? You know what I'm saying? Is there another one?
I had a great time in the presidential primaries in Michigan. I'm not going to make any comments about Michigan. Although, Woody, they say when Woody Hayes ran out of gas in Michigan, he pushed his car across the line. I knew Coach Hayes. I'll tell you a funny story.
Please.
I read in the newspaper that they were going to dedicate a memorial to Jesse Owens, who's one of my great heroes. And so I went up to the ceremony, and it was raining, and there were just a few of us there. There was the coach and Jesse Owens' wife and some of the family and the president of the university. And they get done with the ceremony, and they have a memorial to Jesse right in front of the stadium. So I'm standing with Coach Hayes and Mrs. Owens, and I said, Coach, Jesse Owens, greatest athlete you ever saw. Woody goes, oh, no, Paul Warfield. No, that's a great athlete.
No kidding.
No, that's a typical Woody story, right?
Yeah, that
Tell
is.
it like it is. And we all laughed, and that's the way he was a great guy.
Yeah,
great guy.
And Bo came from Woody's staff at Miami of Ohio.
I used to have dinner once a year with Bo down in Columbus. Oh, no. And got his autograph from my girls. I think he was a great, great man. Bo Schembechler. I mean, they don't make them like that anymore.
They don't, unfortunately. I want to take a quick break, come back and talk a little bit about your book and send you off to the Nixon Library, where I heard you're going later on today.
That's right.
John Kasich is here on The Rich Eisen Show. America Divided or United in bookstores near you. It's on the bestseller list of the New York Times. I was going to take credit saying that, this show gave you that bump, but it's already there.
No question about it.
Okay. See, I was going to take the credit, but it's okay. There is an I in Rich and Eisen, but I'm a team player. We're back with Governor John Kasich in a moment here on The Rich Eisen Show. Welcome back to The Rich Eisen Show. Two Paths, America Divided or United, written by the governor of Ohio, John Kasich, here in our Los Angeles studios. Why write this book, Governor?
Well, because we're just fighting about everything, and people aren't listening to one another, and we're losing some of those institutions that give us a sense of our responsibility, some of our faith institutions about loving your neighbor as you love yourself, listening to other people. You know, I wanted to compliment you because, you know, you're going to New York, and you may get a big award out there.
Yes.
And what's so great about your show is it's not like a yelling and screaming match. I mean, you discuss things and you can have fun, and that's the way it ought to be. But I wrote the book because I'm worried about the drift of our country, and I have two 17-year-old twin daughters, and I want them to have a strong, great America where we're unified. Because if all we do is fight, and I don't mean just the politicians, I mean all of us. So we all have to become convinced that we can change the world where we live. And this is a book about where we are, how we got here, and how we can improve our country.
Now, this may come across as corny here, so I give you a caveat, an alert in that respect. In sports, where somebody who's left politically or right politically, and we talk about politics and we'd argue, but let's say we both love the same team, that goes out the window. We have no idea that we have no idea what our politics are, but we're rooting for the same team. How do we make that team the United States of America?
Well, that's exactly right, because you found something you agree with, and then when you talk about other issues that you might disagree with, you kind of laugh about them, or you can talk in a way in which you can respect one another. Mm-hmm. So we have to find common humanity, whether it is fighting the opiate crisis in our neighborhood, or mentoring kids, or visiting a senior who lost their spouse, or helping a veteran get a job when they move back home. Mm-hmm. That is the thing that brings us together, because they're not Republican or Democrat or blue or red. They're issues that bring us all together, and then it allows us to push up. I'll give you a good example. I was on a Daily Show the other day, Trevor Noah. We were talking about United Airlines and that debacle they had.
Right.
And he made the point, all of us who fly said, we're not putting up with that. That's not the way to treat a human being. And then United changed. So the ability to come together on something that we all agree with and we all see can allow us to push things up. And the big shots have to remember how they got there, I hope by remembering the rules and the virtues and the values that their mothers and fathers taught them before they got to be a big cheese.
Well, I guess I'm in this conversation, I'm seeing a little bit of a flaw of what I just asked you, in the fact that if two people loved the same team but had different opinions on how the team could win a championship, there might be an argument going for this free agent or that free agent.
But that's kind of fun, and that's still,
right.
It's not going to get to be this angry, I don't want to even hear you, right? Today, people are consuming only that they agree with, and they can't even hear the other side. They don't want to. I say that, everybody ought to spend 10 minutes reading or watching something they don't agree with, because that's how you expand your mind. That's how you get stimulated. That's how you grow as a person. Not be narrow and only taking and agreeing with the things and associating with people who only agree with you. Because our country has never been great when we're divided. We are at our best, even in tough times. Take the Depression. Take what it was like after 9/11. After 9/11, we were more united as a country.
There's no question.
Because it was the common humanity. But we didn't take advantage of it, and we have to go back to that spirit of us being together. You know what part of it is? It's love your neighbor as you love yourself. And if you love your neighbor as you love yourself, as the Lord commands, then you begin to be more patient. You begin to be more understanding. You begin to look for things that you agree with, because frankly, we have more things we agree with one another than disagree. But somehow we are stuck on disagreeing, and it's not helpful. I wrote the book because I want this country to get back to its greatest, to the greatest way that America is, which is united we stand. Plain and simple.
John Kasich here on the Rich Eisen Show. It's just tough to see this is happening, though.
But
I got to be honest with you.
It's up to you and me. You see, we keep looking for somebody else to do it. Every viewer who watches this show needs to know one thing.
Sure.
They're made special for a purpose. And think about life as a relay race. We can only run as fast and as far as we can before we hand off the baton. Let's run as strong as we can. Let's carve out a better world. Our kids are going to be the beneficiaries of it. You got those 3 young kids. I mean,
yes, I do.
You got to do things for them. And I tell you something, the tone of your show, the way you conduct yourself, it stands out. That's why you're going to New York. And I really hope you're going to get this award.
Thank you very much, Governor. I appreciate that. And in the sports business, it does seem, and I brought this up with Chuck Todd when he was just here the other day for Meet the Press, it seems that the sports world is mimicking the political television world, as well as maybe vice versa, that there's always this screaming match that you see on television.
I think that's, we're in a cycle now. We're just all shouting.
Right.
And if you shout loud or if you insult somebody, then somebody's going to watch, because we have so much news coming at us. You have to be dramatic to get anybody to watch. But the victory never went to the hare. It always went to the tortoise. And the fact is, if you present good things, if you have good content, if it's thoughtful, people will find you. And we have to move away from the shouting and everything. I can't stand to watch it. And I love sports, but if they're yelling at each other, I'm not interested. And one of the competitions you have is PTI.
Yes.
Now I love to watch Tony and Wilbon. I mean, I watch them because they can be funny. They say interesting things. Once in a while, they'll scrape with one another. And
they're also genuine, Governor.
Yeah.
Like, these are two guys. Basically, what they did was the banter they had in the newsroom in the Washington Post. They just put that on television, and that they're not putting on airs. They are who they are, and they're genuine, and they're having a good time
great friends.
doing it.
I've never met either of them, but they're great friends, and you can sort of feel it. So while they can disagree on something, at the end, they're together. And that's why I think that show works. It's actually very clever. Look, it was a landmark. And what's amazing to me about PTI is it's still so popular. It's still something you want to flip on and see, what are these guys going to say today?
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people,
I still hope you beat them, though, because they got all the fame and glory they need. Let's get you in there, because I'm not on their show. I'm here.
I appreciate that, Governor. I really do. I truly do. But, it is, I do take it seriously when I come here that I want to have a nuanced conversation. I want to make sure that it is okay for LeBron to have an off night and still be one of the greatest of all time. Those two things can actually occur at the same time. But in the sports world, there's a lot of sports media where it is coming up with the most outrageous thing that can be said, and it does attract listeners and I'm wondering, because sometimes
life is short. Okay, life is short. How do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be remembered as somebody who's a screamer, or in the business of politics? How do you want to be remembered? Because I don't know whether people realize this. No one's living forever, and when you leave a legacy. And if you leave a legacy that you actually lived a life a little bigger than yourself, you carved out a better way, and no one's looking for sainthood. I'm a chief failure, okay? I don't do all the things that I say I want to do. But if I can get up every day and pay attention to somebody that people ignore, I don't have to change everything. Just be nice to somebody. And sometimes I'm not. And when I'm not happy with myself. But just slowing our lives down, you, Rich, at the end, your kids are going to say, here's who my daddy was. And they want to be proud of who you are. So when you do your job and you do it in a civil way and you add value, that's how we're remembered.
What do I tell them about government right now? I'll be honest.
It's too divided.
It's broken. It's divided.
Yeah, it's too divided.
What do I tell my young kids about government and how this country is being run by it?
You know why it's happening? To some degree, because the people who are there are putting party before country. But there's another side of it. We have the people who follow this demanding something. No compromise. Don't give in. Don't work with the other side. If you do, you're a traitor, and we're going to take you out in an election where we have increasingly, we create these gerrymandered districts where if you're a Republican, nobody can ever beat you in the Democrat Party, and vice versa with the Democrats. So you watch your extremes, because if you don't do something, they will try to take you out in a primary election, which pushes us this way. So we need redistricting reform, but we need one other thing. We need people to remember that when they're in public life, they're there to lift people, not serve their political party, but to serve their country or their state or their community. And this is not going to be fixed overnight. We didn't get here overnight, by the way. This has been going on for a long time. We're not going to fix it overnight, but I saw there was a town hall between a Democrat senator, a Republican congressman, talking about the problems of starvation in East Africa. And people came out and said, my goodness, that's the way it ought to be. We can get there. If I didn't think we could get there, I would tell you we can't. But a large part of this is to realize that that we live in a country, we should recognize, hey, I'll tell you what we should recognize, that there is a Lord who's given us gifts, and he expects us to carve a better path. And religion to some time in this country has become divisive, like who you sleeping with and all that. That's not religion for me. Religion is connectiveness, hope, grace, forgiveness. And if we keep that in mind, we're going to be better people every single day.
And I rarely go political on this show, but I got to ask you the question, Governor, are you going to run in 2020? Do you have any plans for that?
Very unlikely because, look, we got a Republican president. I did not endorse Trump or go to the convention. I've taken a lot of hits for it. That's okay because politics is not a transaction for me. It's deeply held beliefs. But now I root for him. The same way I root for the pilot on my airplane. I want him to be successful. I always root for presidents. And so when he does a good job, I'll praise him. And when he doesn't, then I'll have something to say if it's appropriate. But I want him to do well. And in terms of my running, you know, what I'm trying to do, honestly, Rich, you're going to think this is maybe a little wacky. I want to reduce my ego, and I want to listen. Because you know what? We get whispers, don't we? We get senses of what we're supposed to do, and that's how I'm going to try to figure out what I'm going to do in the future. You never know about this business, and I never know what lies in front of me. I'm just going to try to do the right thing.
Well, I'm pleased that you came by the show, and I really appreciate you coming here and hanging out.
Sorry, I busted on the set.
That's okay.
I had so much fun. Fantastic. I couldn't. I loved it. It was great.
That's okay. That's what we call a midnight to 6 p.m. curveball snapped off at the host. But I love it.
All right, one last sports story.
Go for it.
So I go to Augusta as a guest of a congressman down there.
By the way, it's a great way to start a story, by the way.
So I get to the they tell me the caddies bet on you. They watch you warm up, and then they bet on you. So we get to the 18th hole. I was younger. I hit my drive out by the sand trap on the left. I was 155 yards from the pin, and I said, give me a 7-iron. The caddy says, no, you have to hit a 6. I said, no, a 7. He says a 6. And then I remember, oh, yeah, they bet on you. So, okay, give me the 6-iron. I hit the 6-iron, and I knocked it in the hole for a 2 on the 18th hole at Augusta.
Come on.
And I turned around and looked at the caddy, and I said, I told you that it was a 6-iron.
Two paths, America divided or united. John Kasich, thanks for coming by, Governor.
Great. Thank you for being here.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.
If you liked some of that, get some more of that on the Rich Eisen Show app. Follow all the information you see right here on the Rich Eisen Show.